In the 19th century, Europe was advancing at a tremendous rate. Science and arts, industry and farms were all evolving, but so was military power. Unlike the modern nuclear arms race, the great nations of that era focused on building a powerful military and bolstering their army and navy. The era was especially defined by naval power. Each country sought to build powerful fleets that would dominate the waters. As the US naval strategist, Alfred Thayer Mann said, possession of a blue water navy was vital for global power projection. It's no coincidence that the timing was right at the peak of the industrial age. Every country viewed their navy as a device to show strength, and although there was no grand conflict to truly determine this power, the world was viciously waiting on one. Germany and Britain were the most powerful forces of the era, one looking to get ahead of the other. The British Royal Navy was the most powerful in the world, and the Germans strived to rival that. However, this travail sent the Germans down a near impossible rabbit hole, which they finally abandoned after Chancellor Theobald von Bethmann-Hellwig of Germany admitted they were too far behind and devoted resources to the land army instead. Army conscriptions went through the roof, with Germany bolstering their force by 170,000 men in 1913. No doubt other countries followed suit, including Austria-Hungary, Italy, the Balkan states, and even Ottoman Turkey. Something was brewing, and it was soon to pour over. Popular voices of the era all agreed war was necessary. Karl Pearson, a British writer of the times, famously stated that great nations could only maintain their power, quote, by contest, chiefly by way of war with inferior races, and with equal races, by the struggle for trade routes and for the sources of raw materials and food supply. Even more powerful voices like Chancellor Holweg echoed the sentiments in his foreshadowing words, quote, the old saying still holds good, that the weak will be the prey of the strong. When a people will not or cannot continue to spend enough on armaments to be able to make its way in the world, then it falls back into the second rank. Within this era, it was clear that the great countries of Europe were itching to have a go at each other's necks and engulf the continent in conflict. Almost as a matter of time and essence, militarized power continued budding in the continent. When the pitchforks could not be pointed at each other, the great powers ventured into new worlds, in search of more resources and ultimately more power. However, the most tipping craze was not big ships or massive weapons, it was instead military alliances. With great lessons from centuries past, it was clear that standing with no friends was to guarantee eventual annihilation. No country, regardless of how powerful, sought to stand alone in any impending conflict. And so, alliances were proposed and sturdy relationships were formed. Germany, fearful of being surrounded by enemies on both sides of the sea, entered an agreement with Austria-Hungary to support each other in a European war. Italy also joined Germany and Austria-Hungary on this front to consolidate the arrangement known as the Triple Alliance. On the other hand, Russia and France reached a similar agreement in the event of an equally unstable future. Great Britain completed this opposing trifecta, known as the Triple Entente. Although this frightening future had no clear path, the whole of Europe could see it was at hand. With alliances in place, the continent held its breath and wait. The powder keg was tossed in the air. The only wonder was who would trigger the explosion. Fate is uncanny, as many would reckon, but not until the explosion was triggered would many realize the truth of the saying. On the 28th of June 1914, the young Serbians would open a path that plunged Europe into conflict and marked the world forever. Or as you could put it, the path Europe's great powers sorely itched for. However, it was long in the making and not as spontaneous as it would seem. Like their native Bosnia, the entire Balkans region was stuck in an unstable state for years on end. The instability of the Balkans came after years of being manhandled by more powerful states like Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Turkey, and Russia. However, the main aggressor was Austria-Hungary, who had occupied Bosnia and Herzegovina. This caused the remaining Balkan states to form the Balkan League. With this new alliance, Serbia, Bulgaria, Montenegro, and Greece achieved a fantastic victory, overrunning most of Ottoman Turkey in 1913. The sweet victory of the 1912-1913 First Balkan War only lasted so long before the victors turned on each other. Bulgaria, aggrieved by the result of the spoils, attacked Greece and Serbia in June in 1913. Although it only lasted 33 days, Bulgaria suffered defeat in the conflicts and lost its territories. But the damning effect only came upon the region in what could be described as the complex mix of resentment, nationalism, and insecurity. The tension in the Balkan region had festered into an utter desperation, especially in the Austrian-annexed Bosnia. Everything fell just in place for Archduke Franz Ferdinand's visit to Bosnia on 28th of June. The heir apparent to the throne of the Austria-Hungarian Empire embarked on a royal tour of Sarajevo, the annexed state's capital. A sorely distasteful sight for many of the natives who were not so keen on embracing their next foreign ruler. However, some were delighted by the visit, not because they were pleased by the sight of the Archduke's parade, but because it presented a rare opportunity. 6 young men from the Milda Bosna movement, known as Young Bosnian, took their planned positions along the royal entourage's route. The plan? Kill the Archduke and pop their suicide pills afterward. Although they would not live to see it, they believed this assassination would liberate Bosnia from the oppressors. After an unprecedented turn of events, the Duke left the hospital upon visiting his aides who were injured in an earlier unsuccessful assassination by one of the Milda Bosna, Nadielko Kabrinovic. Just about an hour after Kabrinovic's attempt, the Archduke was on the road. One wrong turn brought the car face to face with Gavrilo Princip. Not believing his luck, Princip fulfilled Milda Bosna's mission, but his only regret was faltering to take his pills. Anyways, the deed was done. Archduke Ferdinand was dead, and the country descended into chaos. On a much larger scale, the world was gradually catching fire. The Austrian Empire believed Serbian intelligence aided the assassination and strung them out on the diplomatic end. All the great powers in Europe became drawn to the issue with attempts to resolve it in full swing. This period became known as the July Crisis. Largely dissatisfied with negotiations, Austria withdrew and declared war on Serbia, shelling Belgrade on 28th of July, a month after the infamous assassination. Russia backed the Serbians on the 30th of July, while the Germans declared war on both countries the next day. France and Great Britain had no cause to partake in the war in respect to the 1839 treaty and maintained neutrality. This was until the 2nd of August, when German forces occupied Luxembourg and opened fire on the French, demanding passage to Belgium. 2 days later, the German forces invaded Belgium, prompting King George V of England to come to their aid. And so it began. The Great War, as they call it. The war to end all wars. On one end, the Central Powers, Germany, Austria, and Turkey, and on the other, the Allied powers, Russia, France, England, stood.